Good evening, everybody, and it's the Wild Medicine Duo live to talk about what medicines growing all around our beautiful countryside in June and probably July.
Yeah.
Claire, great to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well. Enjoying the summery. Yeah, I mean, God, it's been such a crazy few months with really hot start to the spring. But yeah, enjoying the abundance of nature.
Yeah, I mean, the weather really has been completely unusual. And I mean, obviously, I was away in Malta there for a week and it was 31, it was up to 36 degrees some days, I mean, which is super hot for beginning of June. But then I came back. But today was gorgeous. I was at the park there with my pal and his wee boy, and it was hot,
Yeah,
actually. So tell us, what does that mean for the wild medicine?
Well, what I've been noticing this year is that a lot of things have been early, just with, like I say, that hot start to the spring. So, often some years I'm picking hawthorn into June, and this year I was harvesting it in April. So it's, they call it the Mayflower. But yeah, normally in the West Highlands, it can be a bit later than the rest of the UK. So everything's kind of come at once, and it's been a bit of a frantic time for picking and harvesting things, but it's really great to get dry weather because obviously in terms of harvesting herbs to make medicines, it's much better to have them when they're not covered in rain. So yeah, in that respect, it's been great, but it does mean that probably things that you would expect to come out at this time of year might have already passed, or you might go thinking, oh, this will be ready just now, and it might be at the tail end of being ready. So yeah, that's probably what it means for this season.
Yeah, and I think everywhere is the same. And I know that you have your herbal helpers every season to help you, create all the medicines that you make literally from scratch. So does that affect that? Because normally you could say, right, in June, well, here's what we'll be picking this. And it was interesting because my pal had hundreds of tomatoes in his deck, and it was so nice. And I just boiled a load up because you get that glut very often, don't you? It's that feast or a famine.
Absolutely.
So how do you manage that in terms of your garden?
Yeah, so really I've just been having to kind of harvest things when they're ready. So at the moment I'm harvesting a lot of rose petals from the garden and from the wild as well. And that kind of started back in May, which is really unusual. Normally I wouldn't be harvesting rose until, well, now really, and we're kind of coming towards the end of it. So it's been a case of having to do it when it's there and try and make time for it. In terms of the herbal helpers, I usually have a long weekend at the end of March and then one in July. And the July one is often for harvesting, the aerial parts of the plants, the flowers and the leaves and things. And yeah, there probably will be quite a lot of stuff that I would have been harvesting during that week, which is in 3 weeks' time, that I might just have to do sooner. But yeah, it's just, that's nature at the moment, isn't it? And
you just need to keep an eye out, I suppose. And that's the great thing about you. You're, obviously, because you've got such an in-depth knowledge and understanding, you're kind of always, as I know for being on many walks with you, you're always kind of observing what everything's doing. So that's when you understand what's around, obviously it makes it a lot easier. But I mean, it does still mean that suddenly you've got a lot more work to do at times where maybe you wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of things have kind of come at once as well, just with that kind of heat in the spring. So, often it would be a case of like, I'll do this week, I'll do this that week, I'll do, and you would expect things to come in a certain order, but there was a lot of things were just like all ready at the same time. So it was a bit like, oh, okay, we'll do it all then.
I need to tell you a funny story before we delve into what people can look for. When we were in the park, my son, my friend's wee boy he's just turning 5. He's going to school in August, and there's loads of nettles and nettle seeds. So I start telling him the stories of the nettles, and turns out he's clearly listening. In the way back, he said, Dad, can we pick some of these and eat them since they're so good for you next time we come to the park? We get these seeds. And I was like, what? Just telling him the story. He'd obviously just been thinking about it.
That's great.
It's so great to teach your kids that, so that they like them to wait 60 years until they learn it like I did.
Absolutely. Get it in there when it's young and make it normal, you know, make it this something that we just do as humans. It's not a weird thing.
I know. Yeah. So there's lots of, before we start talking about all the amazing things that are coming up, let's talk about June and July. Well, do you know what happened? The other thing that happened in the park there, myself and Davy and Niven, we all started sneezing at exactly the same time. Now, I have to say, touch wood, my hay fever had pretty much gone away, but whatever it was that was out there, so I'm assuming that that's an issue at this time of year. What do you think people are looking for at this time?
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously quite a bit of pollen around at this time of year. A lot of the trees are in flower, and then you'll start to get the grass pollen at this time of year as well. So, you know, that will be an issue for some people with hay fever. So in terms of what to forage at the moment, probably wherever you are in the country, the elderflower will be at its prime just now. Again, that was another tree that was coming out really early, so I've been harvesting that for drying and for making herbal teas and making elderflower cordial, elderflower champagne, which is a really nice, it's actually not particularly alcoholic, believe it or not, but it's a really nice fermented summer drink. And, you know, anything else that you want to do with your elderflowers, make fritters or just harvest it fresh and put it into water, cold water, and let it steep for a few hours. So yeah, the elderflowers are in their prime at the moment. It's just that glorious taste of summer. An elderflower, believe it or not, actually does help to treat hay fever because it helps to bring down the histamine response, and it also reduces catarrh in the respiratory tract. So it's actually great that, believe it or not, there has been quite a lot of, you know, coughs and colds and things going around the past few. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed that. I've certainly seen it in my clinic. So, you know, it'd be a good one to go out and forage just now if you're maybe at the tail end of a cold, or you're suffering with hay fever. So that would be a good one to include as a herbal tea. I mean, obviously you can tincture it as well, just by putting it in a jar and adding alcohol to that, so vodka or something like that. Leave it for 4 weeks and then strain it out. So that's good one. Yeah, like I mentioned, there's a lot of rose around at the moment, which again you can just use fresh in herbal teas. You can use it in baking, you can dry it for later use in teas, you can infuse it into vinegars, you can tincture it, you can make Turkish delight.
Tell me how you make that. I love real Turkish delight. It's bloody delicious.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all the kind of flowers that are out at the moment. And then of course, you know, thinking about what we'd written about in the book, the yarrow will soon be flowering in a lot of the country. Usually that's kind of June or July, depending on whereabouts in the country you are. So that's another really good one to harvest. Obviously you can add it into salads, you know, the leaves.
Yeah.
Or you can tincture it, you can make herbal teas with it, and it's used to help stop bleeding when it's used fresh. So it's a really useful first aid plant to get to know. And internally it helps to improve digestion, and it reduces heavy menstrual bleeding. It's a really amazing herb. It helps to move the blood, so it's a circulatory stimulant, brings down blood pressure. Yeah, another fantastic one that will be around at the moment.
And what about just blood toxicity? Does it just help in general with the health of the blood?
Well, because it moves the blood, you know, anything that's moving the blood, you know, it's moving the lymph, it's got a kind of knock-on effect on your detoxification pathways, and because it stimulates the digestion as well, it is helping with elimination. So in that respect, yeah, it could be considered to be a blood cleaner, I suppose. So yeah, it's another great one to just chuck into your salads as well.
Well, I think what you're saying there, keeping it easy for people, you know, because especially if you've never made tinctures, although all the information's in the book. I know from my perspective, actually doing a workshop or a retreat with you, I learn every single time and you become more confident. But I think the idea of just putting it into water to drink cold, or putting it into, a teapot to drink it hot, these things are, or just, chopping it up finely through your salads, are really, really achievable and doable, aren't they, for people?
Absolutely. Those are the simplest ways that you can connect with the herbs, just literally picking it and putting it in your mouth, or as you say, using it into hot water, putting it into some cold water and doing a cold infusion, or as you say, chopping some through salads. And this is really the time of year where we have the ability to do that, when everything's in its full kind of bloom and everything's green and lush. So it is definitely the time of year to engage with that.
Yeah, and the diversity that you'll get at this time is phenomenal. And I always say to people, if you don't want to take the whole book out, just take some pictures.
That's right.
Take photos of it, and again, it's a great thing for kids to do in terms of identification and getting them to know what these plants are, so that again they don't grow up like completely clueless about the medicine that's literally growing around their feet at the right time of year in the right place.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So what else? What's going into July? What's kind of coming up then?
What's coming up? Well, I mean, again, there's so much abundance at this time of year. So going into July, you'll still have I'm going to say you still have elder, but maybe this year it might be over by the time we get into July. We'll certainly be looking at things like meadowsweet coming into flower, and valerian coming into flower as well. So those are two key herbs, particularly in the West Highlands and the west coast to look out for. So your meadowsweet is your kind of anti-inflammatory, helps with fever management, can help with headaches, really helps to soothe an irritated digestive tract. It's one of our key herbs that we use for treating gastric inflammation and things like stomach ulcers. And that's the plant that aspirin was first synthesized from. So interestingly, we all know that the side effects of aspirin causing gastric ulcers and blood thinning, and meadowsweet obviously containing the tannins helps to treat gastric ulcers. So it's Mother Nature's whole package. And the flowers can be used as a food or as a flavouring for drinks. We've got a lovely recipe in the book for meadowsweet rice pudding. So it works really, really well with milks or or dairy-based milks, just infused into the milk. It gives this really interesting kind of almondy sweet flavour. And the name meadowsweet actually comes from its prior use in mead making. So mead sweet, it was used to sweeten up mead and used in brewing and wine making traditionally as well. And then, of course, we've got the valerian, which most people who've come across valerian will know that it is a soporific, so it helps us to relax and get a better night's sleep. So the flowers act in a much more gentle way. It's the root that's traditionally used, but the flowers act in a bit more of a gentle way. So maybe not quite as sedating, but incredibly relaxing. It's also a muscle relaxant and nervous system relaxant. So if you suffer with things like insomnia or anxiety, it might be an interesting choice to help relax your nervous system. So that's one to look out for in July as well. The other herb that I really love that will be coming out in July is self-heal. And I think you've got fond memories of snacking on self-heal in the garden at mine. But it's my does what it says on the tin plant.
It was out already at Barmolloch when I was there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think with the early
sunshine
and heat, then you may find patches of it that are out already. So self-heal, antiviral, again helps with blood pressure, diabetes. It's got an affinity with the throat, so it could be used for kind of sore throats and throat infections and things like that. So Yeah, and again, supports liver and kidney function too. So it's a really, really good one to get into your teas or your salads. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's really easy to identify as well, because even me with my plant dyslexia.
Yeah, and it's very abundant. You know, it's a kind of quite common weed that grows at the edges of lawns and paths and grasslands. So it's quite an easy one to identify. And as you said, the book, fantastic photographs of self-heal. He did a fantastic job of capturing the self-heal with loads of insects around it. So you can see quite clearly from those photographs your identification.
Could you talk just a little bit about baths and foot baths? Because I think that's another really easy, simple way that most people could go, oh, I could do that. You know, especially with midgie bite. The midges were mental there before I went away to Malta. I was just like, oh my God, how could I forget? I don't react too badly to the bites, but some of the people that were there at the retreat were, you know, getting quite... distressed is too strong a word, but you know, just like bitten.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable, isn't it? It's really irritating. It's one of the downside of size of the Scottish summertime. And it's interesting you mention the baths, actually, because probably one of the best treatments for midgie bites is plantain. So ribwort plantain, again, you'll find that growing right the way through from spring until the autumn, so you can harvest the leaves anytime throughout the growing season. And again, referring to the book for photographs, but you've got these quite long pointy leaves with ribs running lengthways down the stem, so that's its key identification feature. And with the plantain, I mean, if you're out and you get a bite or a sting, you can literally squish it up or chew it up and apply it directly onto the bite or sting. But if you're kind of bothered by midgie bites and you've got quite a lot of them all over your body, you can actually make like a strong cafetiere of plantain tea and then just add it to some kind of, you know, lukewarm bath water. You wouldn't want it too hot in order to aggravate the bites. But if you add that to the bath water, then get in the bath, it'll really bring down that histamine response and just calm those midgie bites. So that's so in order to make a herbal bath, there's a couple of things you can do, a couple of methods. You can do the cafetiere with a very, very strong tea inside it. Pretty much use any herbs in the bath, to be honest, but obviously you might want to choose the plants that you know you want the medicinal action of. You want to have yourself like a nice flower bath or something like that with rose petals and calendula and things like that. So you can do the cafetiere method, or you can just bundle your herbs up in a muslin pouch or in a sock, or you know, the leg of a tights or stockings, and water through the herbs, and then you can just soak yourself well in the bath.
Yeah, well, it's another pleasant thing to do, isn't it? It's like having a sauna, which we need to talk about too. It's just, you know, there's so many protocols and things that are not particularly pleasant you've got to remember, but I think having a nice herbal bath is just a brilliant. Would that work the same for mosquito bites?
It would, yeah, absolutely. Just bringing down any bites or stings you can use plantain for. Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's clegs as well that, you know, some people really react really bad. So that's going to work for all of that. Well, that's fantastic. That summer. So let's talk about our winter wellness retreat. Well, before that, actually, I see you're at Lintmill.
That's right, yeah. So there's another wild medicine course at the Lintmill. So it's kind of south of Glasgow, Edinburgh, near Lanark. So that's the 28th of June. That course has still got some places left on it. We're obviously up at Linbrick towards the end of July. That is now sold out.
That's sold out, yeah. And that's been sold out for about a year.
A place on the Linbrick course. It'll be a similar course at the Lintmill, and very accessible from the Central Belt as well.
Is that on your website?
It's on the website, or it's on the Mill website.
Right, okay, so westhighlandherbal.com.
That's right, yeah. But the
for
booking
people?
is through the Lint Mill website. So there's a link on my website that
Right.
goes to their website.
Aye, so just Google Lint Mill and they'll find that.
Yeah.
And then Lindbreck's sold out. And then, well, obviously, let me just talk a little bit about what I do on our retreats as well. I mean, obviously, you've got your very first Wild Medicine Festival,
Yeah.
which is very exciting that we'll both be there to kick that off. Because obviously, what's happened really since our last retreat is that Sook Sook Blow, which Ian very kindly gave us the name for that breath work, has really just taken on a whole kind of new life where people are just getting quite phenomenal experiences with it and really deep releasing. I think because I mix so much letting go into it and really focusing on heart coherence now, because obviously every year you're learning more and more, and situations change, and you learn different ways to really help people. So the breath work, obviously, on our winter wellness retreat, that you get to experience that every day. So that's very, very powerful. And then obviously the heart coherence techniques, that seems to be, according to Joe Dispenza's research, really one of the most powerful things that we can do on a daily basis in order for us to get well and stay well. So that's I'm really excited about bringing that into our retreat. Although it's not hugely different, but it's definitely been tweaked, and I'm now actually starting to run my first breathwork training for people to teach people to Sook Sook Flow. So that's exciting, and I've got a huge waiting list. There's like 35 people on the waiting list. So that's it's really really exciting for me, because I'd never thought breathwork was the way I was going to go, but it seems that that's what the universe wants. But we also have another exciting addition in Lochalan, which is just the sauna.
Absolutely, yeah, very exciting. So we've been building the sauna, actually, but most of the building work was done over the winter. But yeah, we have a sauna which is now forming part of the retreat protocol, I suppose you could say. So yeah, that's a real great addition to what we are offering in Lochalan, and that combined with the cold water and the sea and all the breath work and the connecting with the plants and the land and nature as a whole, and all the amazing detoxing food and real food from the land. It's really quite a special time. And I mean, I always look forward to our retreats, and I always feel so great afterwards. Sometimes you do some really intense work for 4 or 5 days, and you feel a bit
and you're shattered at the end of it. I know.
So energized, because what we do feeds us as well. It's just
I know. We're very lucky, and we've said that every time we feel like we've been on retreat. Let's just talk a little bit about the food, because vegan food is very common on a lot of retreats, and we believe that we should be eating Scottish, Indigenous, seasonal food, and that's what we prepare. The royal we. I've been a bit redundant in the last few retreats, but I do love the food, and I obviously get the dessert. I'm big into the raw desserts, but we have Claire, our friend Claire Cameron, who also has had a beautiful addition to the retreats, which is massage, so that people can have a massage during the retreat, and she's amazing. And but also she's a farmer, and we have the local organic meat that she just brings along with her. So the footprint is literally 20 steps or something like that.
Not far.
So the food is just absolutely incredible. So you really will be nourished.
A lot of foraged ingredients as well into that. So last winter retreat we were doing her hill farmed lamb wrapped in fermented wild garlic with sugar kelp, seaweed, hawthorn berries. So we're really looking at what can we get from the local area and incorporating that into our dishes. And yeah, I mean, like I say, some of the food's just absolutely.
I'm pretty sure if anybody's watching this that's been in the retreats, they will vouch for that. The food is just incredible.
And getting those immune tonic bone broths and, you know, really deep nourishment into our bodies as well, which is so important moving into the winter time. So that's what we can look forward to.
And we've even had herbal mocktails.
Yes, absolutely. You know, it's always nice to
a lovely wee treat. Yeah. So and I think probably should add in as well that we do intermittent fast. We have 2 meals a day, which is more than enough. But we have a really hearty brunch, and then we have dinner obviously later on, and we have, you know, we're looking for that 16, 17 hours of rest. And the other thing that's very important, we've noticed as the years have gone on, that people like their own room and their own bathroom, and that's what we offer in the in the Highland Base Camp. So you have your own room and your own toilet, which if the food, because we've got a lot of vegetables, much as we do have our organic free range meat, there is a ton of vegetables and foraged foods as well. So clearly that can impact how your bowels work. And so people feel nice and comfortable when they just have their own space to go to. And depending on, you know, on what's going on in your life, it means you've got your own room to go and have a rest or a nap or whatever you need, and to have a shower, you know, whatever after the sauna. So that seems to be something that people really, really appreciate. And then, yeah, we have it's just beautiful because there's a little white sandy beach through a little old oak forest, isn't there? Just right in front of the...
Yeah, through it's a hazelwood.
Hazelwood, sorry, yeah.
Much oak in there, but yeah, it's just a short walk through this beautiful hazelwood along the coast, and then down to the white sandy beach, which is just overlooked by the ruins of older Cornish castle, and you can see right over the Sound to the Isle of Mull. So it's a really beautiful spot for getting cold.
Yeah, and we all know the benefits of that. I don't think we need to bang on about that very much. So you arrive on the Thursday and leave on the Monday, and the focus is on winter wellness in terms of the medicine making, and that's obviously keeping you and your family well throughout the winter. So I don't think there's anything more to add to that. We do them we do a winter one and we do a spring one. So if you are interested, please just go to our events page, healscotland.com/events, and you'll be able to book in. Have we missed anything out? Is anybody got any questions? I'm on my phone here, and so people, I'm not sure if there are any comments, but what we can do is when we can look and check if anybody's watching this on replay, and they can we'll answer the questions if there's anything that you can't find in Google. We will answer any questions if you get any health issues. Claire obviously works online. I'm about to actually start in a place in Clydebank one day a month and in Edinburgh one day a month. So I'm actually getting my arse in gear.
Fantastic.
I know, and then we've got Strontian Festival. Well, we've got Aberfeldy, we've got Nairn, but obviously Strontian is right on your doorstep. Another phenomenal venue, great lineup. So there's just a lot of wild medicine information going around now, and it's just it's lovely to see the huge amount of interest that there is in it, and how people are really starting to get in and forage and understand the huge power in nature. I was saying to my friend, I feel as if I've been howling at the moon for 30 years and suddenly people are starting to listen. It's like, yes, amazing.
Yeah, sometimes you have to shout long and loud for people to hear you.
That has been it. So, and it was actually really nice being in Malta because when I arrived, there was three. Well, they're saying more farmers, but more market gardeners, and they were discussing all the problems and the issues that they have, and obviously the government's one of them, but how they're, they're striving to make these changes. And it was just, and I went up to speak to them afterwards because I said we're all fighting the same battle with costs, with residue pollutions, and with I suppose at some stage it does come down to, can people afford to buy organic food that's taken, a long time? I mean, everybody still has bills to pay. So it was really interesting to talk to them and see that everybody's, it's great to see that these things are happening, but you know, the challenges are the same wherever. And of course, they've got different challenges with the climate and the intense heat, the incredible heat last year, and then of course water. So, but there's definitely a big movement for change, and people, and it was young guys. Well, when I say young, I mean like younger than 40. That's very young to me now. Yeah. So yeah, it's great to see that everywhere people are starting to waken up to the power of what's happened to our food. Who are we allowing to, you know, to sell us this crap? And they're now talking about this factory made meat. You're just like, am I in some kind of altered universe that anybody? But they're going to get people with cost, though, aren't they? That's the thing, and we really have to be very strong about this. Consumers have to just go no, and then the game is over.
Real food as close to its natural form as possible. That's our philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I don't know if anybody has put any questions up, but I'm not seeing anything coming up here. Thank you all for being with us. And yeah, check out the website for all the events. Check out Clare's website if you need to see or talk to Clare about any health issues. Then you can book an appointment actually on your site, can't you?
That's right. Yeah, there's an appointments section, so you'll see the courses and events that I've got for this year, and there's also the appointments section, so you can book yourself in for an online appointment.
And what she does is she'll do a consultation with you, and then she posts the herbs to you. So it's really, really very convenient that we don't need to drive all the way to Lochaling to see you.
I mean, that's also an option if you want to.
Well, it's pretty nice, and it's, you know, there's some pretty spectacular areas around there, as we know. Absolutely. So, yeah, great stuff. Okay, well, I think that'll do us. Then we've covered all the bases.
That's it. Thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, amazing, and hopefully see you at something really soon.
Bye.
Okay, ciao.